it's Molly Mahoney. Welcome to episode 7 of the Prepared Performer podcast. Hello, prepared performers. It's Molly Mahoney from the preparedperformer.com, and I am crazy excited about what is about to happen here with Stefanie O'Connell. Woohoo! There she is. Yay! She is the author of The Broke and Beautiful Life, and she's also a musical theater performer. So when I connected with her in a totally random way, I was so excited, and then we found out that we have loads of friends in common, and it's just super awesome. So she is here to talk to us about something that I am crazy passionate about, which is the fact that we are never given any sort of financial training anywhere in our lives. It's like absolutely insane to me. So, and especially as performers, because as performers, as you know, we are, running our own business, but did we get any of that in school? Wah, wah. No, we should get it in high school and in college. Okay, so Stefanie, first of all, tell us how you started becoming a performer. Can you tell us how that part of your life started? Just threw that out too.
Well, that story is not very interesting. I'm just every other kid who's like, I want to be on Broadway. So that's what I did. I went to school for it, and
where did you go to school?
I went to NYU.
Yeah, awesome.
As soon as I got out of NYU, I went on tour, and so I was a actress.
Okay, awesome. And then being an actress, tell us the transition into this side of your life.
Yeah, so that's where it gets interesting. So I went on the tour of Cinderella, and it was 2008, which is the year I graduated college and the year the world decided to go to hell. So I always say it. It's true, the economy at least. And so we were like halfway through the tour, and the producers come out and they're like, oh, so, we know you had this year-long / open-ended contract, but just kidding. World collapsed, we're going to send you all home. And so that was my moment that I think most college seniors have of, oh shit, what am I going to do? I was really lucky. I went on tour immediately after graduation, so I hadn't had that moment. So when I did have the moment, it was January 2009. It was the worst timing ever to be starting your career unemployed actress. And so the first job offer I got after that was for $225 a week doing summer stock, 3 leads in 3 musicals over the summer.
3 leads, you guys, also.
Yeah, it wasn't an ensemble contract. That was the thing. I was non-equity at the time.
Okay, that was my question. I was just about to ask you. So good job. Okay.
At the time, it was a non-equity contract. And I was like, even so, that, it didn't fly. Even then, it was very early in my career, and I was like, something is not right with this model of compensation, and I passed, and I didn't do it. And I did some more tours after that, and even when I got things that were quote-unquote, good, it wasn't really good money. And the big moment happened when I was doing a show at Madison Square Garden, and I was like, okay, this is it. I'm in New York City, big
right.
Theater, major equity show. And I got my contract, and it was it's $540 a week before your union dues, your agent fees, and your taxes. So I was taking home $380 a week. And I was like, okay.
For people, because I know I try to be educational about equity stuff too. So what kind of contract was it?
It was a new contract. It was a special agreement to the CETA contract. Okay. I don't want to misspeak, but I believe that's what it was.
Okay.
To be fair, they did amend it when I did it the second time to make it a better rate.
Yeah. But Madison Square Garden is big deal, right?
Yeah. I was just wait a minute, this is kind of as good as it gets. Yes, a production contract is kind of as good as it gets.
But still, you would think.
Still, and I was having this moment, I am so happy, I'm so artistically fulfilled, and this is what I want to do, but this is not a sustainable model of living my life. Yeah. And when a show ends, it's over, and I'm squirreling away my $300 a week that I take home so that I don't have to go to the restaurant the same day I close my show. It was just oh, I can't live like this. And like, I have other priorities. I have other things I want to do. And call me crazy, but like, acting is something I love, but it's not the only thing I love in my life. You know,
Which
I
I
love,
would say is so important to make sure you do have other things that you love, because if acting is the only thing, then it's going to be really hard to get a job because you're like a desperate weirdo.
yeah, I was though. Like, I'm
Yeah.
so much better now because I feel so confident. I don't need the job. And
Yeah.
when you don't come in with all that baggage, man, it's so liberating.
Yeah.
Like having, let me tell you, having money is the best thing ever. Like, I never knew because like I was always broke. I was always struggling. It was always so hard. But now that I'm in a position where I have enough on my own that I can make choices and have options, man, is it so much more freeing to be an artist and to really express myself in the ways that I want to.
Totally. So,
Yeah.
so you had this moment where you were like, what the heck? I can't, this is not okay. Not, my moment is hashtag not playing games. Like what? And then first of all, I just want to say a little bit, I was like going through your blog and the post that you did about, I don't remember what it was called, but it's like transparency in salaries. Like even as a teacher now, it's so hard to find out what people get paid to teach dance classes. Like all of that information is totally hidden, which I understand in some ways because it keeps things competitive and you don't want to like necessarily broadcast and be totally transparent about that. But, and I do think with equity, you know, we can see all the contract levels and whatnot. But as performers growing up, like we're taught, even like I worked at Stages St. Louis, and Stages, like they hire all these Broadway people, whatever, but it was like $4 something a week to do shows there. And, you know, you get housing, but you still have to keep your apartment back in New York. You can't just, like, you know, some people sublet. But yeah, so I don't think people realize. And the other thing I was going to say is that this makes me think of The Cosby Show, because forget about all the other drama with The Cosby, whatever, but like The Cosby Show as it was. Do you remember, I don't know if you ever watched The Cosby Show, but the episode where Theo is like, I'm going to go live on my own and I don't need anything. And his dad has all the money and is like, okay, well, you know, here, you get this much money. And then he's like, okay, and now you're going to need to pay for this. And he takes the money back from him. Did you ever see that?
Oh, I totally didn't, but go ahead.
So I feel like that is the only real like lesson that I have as to how, from growing up, as to how I know where money's going to go. Like it's
Well,
the motorcycle.
Do you remember the Friends episode where like it was like the poor friends and then the rich friends, and then they were like upset with each other because like Ross and Monica and Chandler all made a lot of money and they wanted to do things that like go to concerts that cost a lot of money, and they didn't understand why Phoebe, Joey, and Rachel didn't want to do that?
Oh no, but that's like totally perfect.
Like, yeah, peer pressure to spend. Man, I know that. If anyone's in their 20s and 30s and going to a million weddings. Oh God.
You're in your 30s and baby showers and all that.
Oh yeah, I'm in the mix right now. I have babies and weddings coming in. It's like, oh God.
That's in the city when Carrie has her own shower.
Yes, that's totally gonna be me.
Right.
When I hit my income goal, I'm gonna throw myself a shower.
I will celebrate it with you. Okay, so back on track. How did you? So like from there, what was your next step? Like, did you think?
Yeah. So I started blogging, because who doesn't? So I started a blog. I didn't know anything about the world of blogging. The idea of blogging about money to me was like this novel concept. Little did I realize that it was like a hugely, hugely saturated market. It's very, very common, as is blogging about just about anything. So I started kind of just like dabbling, writing my thoughts online, and I found that a lot of people were responding, even though it is a saturated market, because my perspective was different. I was coming as an broke actress, musical theater background, and talking about my finances, which actually really resonated with people because it was very real. And
afraid at our, like at that stage when you're in that place, they're afraid to talk about it because it can seem embarrassing or.
Yeah, well, I was just out there. I was just like, I'm broke. I'm couch surfing, I'm ride sharing, I'm getting my hair cut for free. I still do at beauty schools. Like I have no shame. So
And I think in the like amongst actors, we all do that too, you know, but then when we go back and we're around other people, it's like a totally, you know, all the people we went to high school with who are, you know, lawyers and doctors now, it's like, we're living the life, but.
Yeah. But then like, even with like actors, I feel like the conversation's really limited to just I'm broke, not okay, now what? And so in my blog, I try to take, yes, the I'm broke part, and then kind of move the needle to go to the next step. Now what? Now what am I going to do? And so what did I do? I got like crazy deep into personal finance. I for the last 6 years tracked every single penny I have spent and everything I have earned down to the penny. No joke.
How did you even go about doing that? Was it something where
you just write it down? That's it's
that
that easy.
Like, were you carrying? I'm gonna get super technical with you. So were you carrying around like a notebook? Did you have a spreadsheet that you put things into? How was your actual?
I use an Excel spreadsheet, and at the end of every day, I'll just write it in. If there's a day where for some reason I'm buying a lot, I'm not a big shopper, but if there's a day for some reason I'm making a lot of purchases, I'll just make a note to myself. I'm also a big credit card user, which I only recommend if you're like really, really on top of your credit cards. But that's also really a good way for me to track things. Now I use software in tandem with my spreadsheet. It's called Personal Capital. It's kind of like Mint if you're familiar with Mint.
I love Mint. Yeah.
Yeah. So same thing. And then I'm like crazy. I cross-reference everything. I have like multiple spreadsheets. And now that I have a business, there's my business spreadsheet. So,
what do you use for your business finances?
I just use Excel. I use everything Excel. Although I'm at a point where my business has gotten to like a critical point where I think I'm going to be outsourcing more.
Right.
So I'll probably hire a bookkeeper.
Yeah. I did this year and it's been totally.
Everybody says that. And like, I need to incorporate, I need to make all these tax. I mean, I pay a fortune in taxes now because now I'm freelance.
Right.
So, I mean, but it's all good news.
A lot of performers, I feel like the freelance thing is so common because sometimes, you know, you'll do shows where like, yes, they'll be taking taxes out, but then maybe you'll get a job playing with a jazz band or you'll, you know, get a job dancing around in a chicken suit in Times Square.
Yeah. I mean, most of my survival jobs when I just did like babysitting and stuff or working at a restaurant, they were generally under a W-2. But as soon as I got into writing, it was totally 1099. Yeah. So that was a big shift. By the way, you have to file quarterly taxes, everybody, if you're on 1099. Yeah.
So much to learn. Okay, so you started writing, and then what happened? Like putting it out there, just talking about it more, and keeping track of everything. What else do you mean when you said you got really deep into personal finance besides keeping track of things?
So I read every book out there.
What's your favorite? Besides The Broken Beautiful Life.
Besides my own. Do you know, I honestly started with Susie Orman, and I don't agree with everything she says. I was reading Money Book for the Young, Fabulous, and Broke. But she engaged me, and that's really all that matters. Is like, if someone is going to inspire you to take action, it doesn't matter. Like that's all. That's it. That's the only thing that matters. That you are inspired to do something. And so I was inspired by Susie, and then a million other authors who I have since read. And now I read blogs every day. I read Forbes every day. I read Wall Street Journal. I read everything like every day. And to the point that I have like an education, a full education in personal finance because I've been doing it for the last 4 years.
And do you set aside specific time in your schedule for that, like for reading all those things, or do you just kind of read it throughout the day when you can, or how are you with that?
It's generally throughout the day. I read a lot. I don't read as much in terms of books anymore, but in terms of articles, yes, because I write specifically about millennial money, which is young money, Gen Y money. So I'm always trying to like keep up to date on the trends. I do a lot of news stuff where I go on like, you know, ABC to comment on something. So I have to be really well informed.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. So then you started putting it out there, and then what was the next thing from there?
So once I started putting it out there, I realized there was this whole world of money bloggers out there. And I was like, oh, they have a career out of this. What if I could have a career out of this? If they can do it, I can do it. And that kind of started motivating me to see what the career options were. And the first thing that came to me was freelance writing for other bloggers. So I would reach out to like everyone whose blog I had read or commented on. And commenting was huge when I first started because it just established some relationship with people I didn't know. And I'm adding value because they get comments on their site.
Yeah.
So I reached out. I said, do you need a writer? What's your rate? And a lot of people didn't respond, but a couple did. And they were like, okay, well, I can pay you $30 for 500 words, which now I think is crazy. But when I was starting, it was great because that was an hour or 2 hours. I didn't have to babysit.
And putting your name out there and all that too.
Exactly. And not long after.
Was it a ghostwriter or were they giving you credit?
No, I got credit.
Okay.
So that was great because I did it for many people and I started building up my portfolio really quickly because I was doing this like every week, twice a week, all over on all these different blogs. And eventually I got to a point where US News and World Report reached out to me and said, would you be a regular contributor? And that was like really game changing in terms of my reputation. And it gave me a big name behind me. And then once I had that, then I started going from bloggers to startups and creating content for startups, which was like a paid bump from like $30 a post to like $100 a post.
How did that work? Like give us examples of who the startups are or were.
So one company I wrote for was called Magnify Money. They're a startup that writes about different, like the fine print of credit cards and bank accounts, like, and just tells you what the best deals are without the bank bias, which is nice. And so
just the difference between a blog and a startup would be that they're actually they're offering other services and stuff aside from just blogging, or
right. So they offer. I mean, technically they haven't monetized yet. They're still startup. Okay. So I don't know what their business model is, but they're in the business of offering advice about what credit card to choose, for example. Okay. And all of these startups have blogs. Basically everybody has a blog now. And it's created this huge opportunity for people who are good at communication. I would say writers, but I wasn't a writer before this. So anyone who's good at communication, which a lot of actors are, right. To really bring what their skill set to the table to bring like a human message to whatever the mission is of the startup or the company or whatever.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Another question. I've been doing a lot of talk about sending out ships. So in the sense that if you don't,
you read Shelley Campbell's book?
I was going to say it. Yes. when you were talking about books, I was going to ask if you know her. So Shelley Campbell.
I love her.
I'm actually in a course with her right now. I have one more week left. Yeah.
No way. I quoted her in one of my US News and World Report pieces.
Oh, that's amazing. I'll have to talk to her about it. So you guys, Shelley Campbell is this awesome woman that I met through the eWomen Network. Do you know what that is?
Mm-mm.
No. So it's this really great group of women and a few good men, they say, that I've been meeting with once a month. And she spoke at our event a couple months ago about finance. And the thing that I thought was so cool about her was that she was a musical theater performer before. So I was like, what? And then she had a bookkeeping service that she started after, it was like a side job. And then she took over this bookkeeping service. And now she has loads of books. I'm surprised there's not one sitting on my desk. But she has a great book called From Wealth to Worry. And she also does a course that's, it's called a financial stress reduction course that she does. It's really cool.
I read her book, Zero to Zillionaire, and I loved it.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I haven't read that one, but I'll check it out.
Oh, it's awesome.
She's amazing. And so one of the things that she talks about in business, and this works so well for actors, I think, also for anyone, I also sell 3D fiber mascara, like makeup, whatever. So it works. It's been really great advice for my team in that regard. But, is that we have to send out ships. So if you want to be able to get a job, like she just said, writing for blogs, but you only contact one person, like that's not going to do very well. And you can't sit there thinking, like waiting for your ship to come in if you haven't sent any ships out. And whether or not, I'm sure this is probably similar with you too, but one thing that she talks about is whether or not the same ship that you sent out comes back in, it doesn't matter. If you're putting the energy of putting it out there of what you want to bring into your life, then it's more likely going to be coming back into your life. Yeah.
Yeah, you're totally
going to auditions is a perfect example of sending out a ship, right?
It really is. And what upsets me, or frustrates me rather, is that performers are so good about sending out ships when it comes to their stage careers, but they don't make the same effort in their side careers. And the dividends can be really, really huge if you apply the same tenacity and effort
Totally.
You know, it's just like a game changer.
And I think back to what you were saying in the beginning about how it's changed your confidence level and all of that as well. When you're not stressed out trying to figure out how you're going to make money. Like now I feel like being a coach, I'm not as, you know, I'm not stuck in this place where I'm like, oh, where's my next job? Where's my next job?
Right. Never. I never feel that way.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like,
Are you still auditioning?
yes. I only go now when I have appointments, which isn't very often, but when I do, I'll go.
But that changes, I think, as you said, like the way that you walk into a room. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, so I'm not doing shows right now, but performance-wise, I feel so much more confident because I'm not going in with this crazy sense of desperation. You know, you're like, if I get it, I get it. Awesome. Yeah. Totally. I love it. Okay, so we were talking about ships. Oh yeah, so that was I was going to ask a question about that. So, okay, so knowing Shelly, she says that she sends out, like she spends several hours every day sending ships out, and she has it like blocked off. And then when I look at it, I'm like, oh, I spent 1 hour last month. I don't know. Or it's actually set up like that. But how many emails did you send off waiting to hear back, in, you know, in regards to in the ratio?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not very structured about it, but I pitch constantly. And it's happened in various stages of my career too. So like when I was first starting out, what I would do is like just gather this list of bloggers and pitch. And then I transitioned into speaking last spring. And so I like Googled best theater programs, and there were 96, and I went through every single website and I found the theater department chair at every college, and then I sent out all those. And now I'm working with national media, so I'm working with Today's Show, ABC, like Dr. Oz, and those are a little bit trickier because they're hard to find the point person. But generally speaking, I spend, I don't know, a couple hours a week doing stuff like that. At least like stalking them, like, or like finding out who it is, you know?
Yeah.
It's really hard. It's hard to do it, especially on that level.
And how many people do you actually hear back from?
Well, it's definitely gotten more and more recently.
That's good. But like when you first started and you reached out to all those bloggers, how many?
Yeah, I mean a couple, maybe 2 or 3. And then the other thing is, once I had built up my portfolio with those bloggers, then I reached back out to the old people I had pitched before and said, oh, I've been working with so-and-so, and this piece was really highly trafficked. Here's an example. Now I have this big portfolio, and I have a lot more that I'm coming to the table with. So it's good to come circle back around.
Yeah, I think my real question here is that a lot of people get disheartened when they've sent out, like they'll spend one day and send out 100 emails and they'll hear back from one person and they're like, screw that, I'm not going to do that anymore. But that's like awesome. One person wrote you back.
I know, it is awesome. Like for the 96 emails I sent out with speaking, I think I did 1 speech out of that, maybe 2.
Yeah.
Maybe 2, but now I have more set up because like now I've done the speeches, I have the videos, I've been paid, I have testimonials. Now I can go back and circle back around. Awesome. And I'm doing an event next week where I'm going to make $5,000 in 1 hour. Like game changer. Like I don't say it to be like, I make this much money. I say it because it was people saying it when I was not here that made me think this is possible. Yeah. This is the potential, and it is available to you if you keep asking for it.
And it's not, you made $5,000 in all of that work you did beforehand as well. You know?
I've been doing this for a long time. Yeah. And I do this, like, I also have treated this like my full-time job since I started. So even when I was I didn't make any money for the first year. And I did it all the time. Like I would be at Equity with my laptop on, sitting in the line at 7 a.m., like typing away on my thing. You know, that's just the commitment it takes. And everyone like turns around and they're like, oh, that happens so fast. I'm like, yeah, it happens fast if you put in the effort every day.
Totally. Okay, so now I want to know, how has the reaction been from your other actor friends who have seen the journey of it, who like, while you're sitting there at Equity writing and that stuff, I'd always be crocheting. Now I wish that I had
Yeah, I think they're really excited. I mean, I have awesome friends. I love actors. I'm an actor.
Okay, so I guess I don't really mean that. So I would imagine people are happy for you, but how do you feel people are when you tell them like, you can do something like this too?
Yeah, I don't know. I think people want to and they have the aspirations, but it really is a huge commitment to to pull the trigger on any kind of behavioral change. You have to be committed to doing the habits every single day. And I don't know a lot of people who are willing to follow through. And I think that success is probably just as much about follow through as it is about getting started. And I think it's hard for people to get started and even harder for them to follow through. So
But it's worth it.
oh my gosh, absolutely. I mean, but it's like anything. It's like if you have a weight loss goal, right? It's the same thing. Everybody knows what they're supposed to do, right?
Yeah,
But it's hard to get started and it's hard to maintain and be consistent. So the secrets to success are not secrets. They are simply consistency.
totally. Totally. I find
Yeah.
so many people are like, what are you doing? Like just about my business here. And I'm like, but I remember, so I am obsessed with Pat Flynn.
Oh yeah, he was at our conference
Oh,
last.
isn't amazing? I love it. Which is how I found Grant, who I found you through. But so we met you guys in this like random thread on a speaker, this awesome speaking coach, Grant Baldwin, who does a lot about public speaking and the business side of it. And so Pat Flynn is my like internet guru who I always thank for doing everything for me business-wise with the Prepared Performer. And I remember when I first started it that everybody was like, you're crazy. Like,
Oh
what
yeah.
are you doing?
Yeah.
So
There's definitely that. There's always going to be that.
yeah.
But then they turn around and they're like, how do I do this?
Right, yeah. And so now that's totally, and so now I'm feeling like it actually works. Woo! Like,
It's awesome.
yeah, I love it. Okay, so and one thing I'm really big about also is helping actors to be able to find things like this so they're not having to wait tables. So if they want to become a coach, like that type of stuff, or to become, do this freelance writing. I have another friend named Allison Volk. I don't know if you know her, but she has a website called The Blog Babe, and she does blogging for business owners, but she does it as a ghostwriter.
Uh-huh.
I think it's things like that where you're able to be working while you're sitting at Equity.
Yeah.
Are so valuable so that you don't have to be stressed out working at Ellen Stardust Diner.
Well, I also want to say that I was doing all my survival jobs when I started this. Like there was this period of overlap where I was auditioning, blogging full time, not money wise, but time wise, and survival jobbing. And that's inevitable. Like it's not an automatic change, So I just don't want people to think that it happens overnight. There is a little bit of overlap time where it's a lot, but it's so worth it.
Yeah. And I think that's true too, is the consistency thing in that regard. And then also not being afraid, like not being like, oh, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. But just the follow through is huge.
Yeah.
So for people who are, wanting to start some other sort of either passive income, thing like that, act performers who are wanting to find a way to supplement their lives so that they can still keep performing, because not everybody is going to be, Sutton Foster, and even Sutton Foster, her jobs end also. So,
I mean, I can't tell you how many people I know with Broadway contracts who are entrepreneurs full time also.
Yeah.
Everybody, they all have their own thing going on because Broadway contracts end the drop of a hat too.
Yeah. And then you're back to the same drawing board that everybody else is with just a bigger resume.
Right.
Look at the sun has just come out. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, it's like nightfall here.
Okay, so people who are wanting to get started with something like this, what's like, in just a few words, the best advice that you could give to someone who's looking to maybe start venturing into something like this?
Yeah. So you have to find something that you're curious about, interested in, that also fulfills a need and that you're good at. So there's got to be that overlap. And there has to be a demand for it. This is where acting kind of is iffy on fulfilling that requirement. There's not a lot of demand, a lot of supply, not a lot of demand. But when it comes to your survival jobs, we're talking about making money. So make sure there is a demand. And the one thing that actors really need to do is realize how adaptable their skill set is. What was my skill set? Like, I wasn't a coder. I didn't have any video editing skills. I didn't really have any hard skills or anything, which are really valuable if you do. But I was still able to monetize my acting skill set by taking it to a new market. So thinking about the way I communicate with people, thinking about my storytelling ability, my improvisation ability, that translates really well in corporate culture, and you can get paid a lot of money for it. So figure it out. Like I always tell people, if you want to make a lot of money, figure out how you can sell whatever it is to corporations, because that's where the money is.
Totally. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Awesome. And I also loved that usually when people say what you're going to find or to find the thing that's going to be able to work like this for you, they say something that you're passionate about. But I love that the first thing that you said was find something that you're curious about.
Yeah, I think I've been trying to figure this out for a while, because there's a really good TED Talk recently that came out by a woman named Terry Trespicio.
Okay.
And it's about this idea of the passion argument. And as artists, we know what that is because we kind of always had it. But I never was passionate. Like, it was never my dream to be a personal finance writer, but I love my life. So the thing Terry says that I think is great is that, like, just do something that interests you, because by limiting yourself to the thing you can dream up, you're limited. Like, that's inherently limited to whatever your imagination has. The thing that happens and evolves for you by being present with the opportunities in front of you, you can stumble upon a passion you never dreamed of.
I love it.
Yeah. I was like, oh.
Leads you to discover, like, go down the rabbit hole, like Alice in Wonderland, and the things you want to discover on that journey.
Yeah, totally. It was just like really resonated with me. Definitely everybody should watch it.
Awesome. So I'm going to try and find that TED Talk link. And also we'll link to your book, which is amazing, The Broke and Beautiful Life, right? That's what it's called, correct?
That's it. That's where I give, like, all the money tips. I know I've been just, like, talking about myself, but there are money tips too.
Okay, so now that you said that, your best money tip, like, what's your favorite, most quirky money tip? How about that?
Quirky. Well, I mean, like I said, I write down literally every penny I spend, and I say and earn, which is, everyone's like, that's it. I'm like, do it every day for a month. You will blow your mind when you go back and look at it. And then the other thing is, like, go for the big wins. So it's like 20 cents to save on soup when you clip a coupon, but if you improve your credit score, you can refinance your loans and save thousands of dollars, right? So it's about, like, focusing your energy on where you're going to make the biggest impact with your finances.
I like it. Big wins, you guys. Okay. The money note. Ooh, that would be such a cute name for something. The money note, right?
It would be.
I love it.
It might exist.
Maybe it does. I know, right? You never know. I love it. Okay, thank you so much, Stefanie. And where tell us your website so that we can find you online as well.
Yep. So I'm at StefanieO'Connell.com. I spell my name with an F, not a PH. Even if you misspell it in Google, though, you should be able to stumble upon me somewhere. So. And
we'll put links down below in the show notes.
Oh, perfect.
Yes.
Awesome.
Amazing. Thank you, Stefanie, so much for being here. This was another episode of the Prepared Performer podcast, and we will be back in 2 weeks. And Stefanie, you're awesome. Yoo-hoo! Thank you.